Woo! So welcome, Scarlett, to the
Thank you.
Clickable Impact podcast. Yeah, we're
This
excited.
is my first podcast experience.
No way.
On a podcast, yeah.
Wow,
I mean, I've listened
that's
to
really
them,
cool.
but I've never been a part of one. So I'm really excited to do this and share and chat.
Yes, exactly, and that's what these things are here for. So, we've only had a few episodes of the Clickable Impact podcast too. So, I'm a little new to this too.
Well, I'm glad to be on the breaking grounds.
Exactly.
Be a part of it.
Exactly.
I think that podcasts and everything like this, especially with the world, the way it's kind of crazy right now, people are staying at home and needing different things to do and being a little bit more dependent on their computers. It's a good time to be using podcasts to connect and not get too stir crazy as you're staying at home. And
yeah. So I don't think I gave you the right intro too. So Scarlett is a top level executive at Truly Nolen. So everybody knows what that brand is. So tell us your story. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, all those facts.
So I'm the president of Truly Nolen of America, and we are a family-owned private company. We've got offices from California to Florida, and we also have international franchisees all over the world. We're in over 60 countries, and so we've got a big footprint, but we are kind of still a small family-owned kind of company.
Small but big.
Yeah, we're sort of this little big company. We're little in some ways, so we can move and pivot really easily, but we also have a big reach and lots of resources. So kind of fortunate on both those ends.
That's a lot of countries, especially dealing with what's happening right now. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, we're obviously watching all over the world as all these different countries are impacted in different ways. So how I got started in this pest control world, my father was Truly Nolen. He was a man, and most people don't know that Truly was a person. And my father founded the company, and it's been a multi-generational family company, and I have different siblings that are involved in different ways. And I really got started in the company about 8-9 years ago, where I've started off in the field, servicing customers, pest control, termite control, insulation, rodents. I kind of did, I've done all of our services, gone through, all of our training, and I've worn a lot of different hats: branch manager, district manager. And the past couple of years, it's been a really big learning curve. And, I'm very grateful to be in this opportunity and be in this position where I can serve and lead the company as president.
That's awesome. That's cool. That was a good little quick spiel. So that sounds like a massive challenge. 60 countries, the president of a company with 60, it's not even 60 locations, it's like 60 different countries. How do you do that? I don't know. Do you speak, at least 30 different languages, right?
Oh, I wish. I am terrible at languages. I wish I was better at languages. So when we have our international conferences every couple of years, we've got translators, and what I try to do is I try to learn
business ones, right?
Oh yeah, these are, and it's really cool with the technology. There's these apps that are getting really good at translating. Yeah. And so we definitely try to have those in tow. We've got a lot in South America, so there's a lot of Spanish and Portuguese speakers predominantly. So most people can speak to each other, and I'm sometimes on the outs because I'm so terrible with languages outside of English. But I try to at least learn a greeting or something to connect with people. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how does the marketing change from country to country? That's really interesting to me. Do you have the same logo with the mouse and stuff like everywhere?
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's a wonderful question. So different cultures, different
I'm thinking
governments.
like McDonald's in China is way different than McDonald's in America.
Yeah, so there's it's amazing because the mouse car, which is our icon, is the same icon all over the world, and it seems to have the same impact on maybe just a very human level in every single country. It People remember it. It's bright, it's yellow, it's more memorable, and it's a little bit funny. So there's
It's
something
like a
that
cute
people
little
sort of,
mouse.
yeah, it's
It's
sort of,
friendly.
it's friendly, it's a little bit ridiculous, we laugh at ourselves, it's a funny car, and it has the same impact in France, in Argentina, in every country in the world. And we've we've been using it for a long time, and knock on wood, so far it's stuck.
Yeah, no, that's great. So does the marketing change like in the way that you market and like how you allocate budgets like from country to country, like the type of marketing that you guys do, like more print or more online or more billboards, anything
Yeah,
like that?
yeah, so absolutely. So it depends on the community, and it depends on what the community is almost used to. Now, I mean, 220, everybody's used to an online platform. Certainly here in America, you can't be in business without Google.
Yeah.
It's a big investment, but it's a part of the business equation.
Right.
And so, and there's a lot of different strategies, as everybody, as we all know. And my advice, I don't have specific Google strategy. My advice to people is get somebody who knows it and studies it very well, because like IT, it changes so much. And it's something that you really need to have an expert to help you with your Google spend, and where and when and how you're switching up your Google spend and down, and so forth.
Yeah.
But with other mediums of marketing, and the different neighborhoods and the different cultures and countries, I think that it depends. So we've got franchises that are very small. They're small, 2 or 3 family owned
Okay.
small businesses, and it might not have the ability to pour a bunch of money in
Right.
Google. It's just not,
Right.
it's hard to manage. So how do they compete? How do these smaller businesses that do carry our brands compete against a really large brand in a market where they're the tiny minnow in a
Right.
world where, you know, all these other brands can absolutely, Coca-Cola, these big heavyweight
Yeah.
champions of marketing, they can always outspend you. So you've got to get really smart about it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think that anytime you do something with a very local touch, it resonates with people a little bit longer.
Mhm.
So one thing, if you're competing, to me, like using Coca-Cola is like one of the biggest brands in the world. And their marketing is
Yeah.
incredible. Biggest one of some of the, major marketing dollars. But you can, if you're in a business and you feel like you're going against a brand that big,
Right.
go local. Like that's to
Right.
me the route to go. Go super local, go super niche. And I would say like going the approach of interacting with the schools or what's important to that community. Like there's certain communities that's like the chili cook-off here in Orlando, big
Mhm.
event, normally in the spring. I don't know about this year.
Yeah. Maybe not.
But
So
yeah, we got to
crowded.
maybe do chili from afar this year. But I
We
think
could
that's
do
like just
chili
a
on
different,
Zoom.
yeah, Zoom chili. And I
We
think
need we
that's,
need smell-o-vision, right? And
yeah,
like taste-o-vision. Maybe
yeah,
somebody will invent that now.
yeah. So I think that's just a different way to market, get really local with it and take that approach. And, you know your audience. The more you know your audience and then more you know your target market at a really core level, I think that you can take a small marketing budget and really stretch it and just get really intentional with it.
So the mom and pops, like once they start with a franchise, right? I didn't realize Truly Nolen was a franchise too. So that's really interesting conversation too, right? So when somebody takes it, your advice is like, you got to go hard. You got to, once you have the brand name, right? You just got to go hard into the community. So everybody knows you. Go super hard on the awareness level. Obviously have some direct marketing so you can get some sales, but people have to be aware of you in the essence of your business, right? When your business happens, it's when people need it right now, right? So you have to kill it at this level for people to say, okay, I need this now, and I already knew about Truly Nolen. So that's very interesting in itself, right? So that means they do have to be out in the community at different events, maybe spending some ad spend, like just on the awareness level, to really just build up that customer list. Say if they were starting like from zero, right? Obviously you guys have already built the awareness, maybe not, I don't know, how many countries are there? Like 60 is a lot, right? There's like 100 and something, right? So, probably like at least in America, right? Truly Nolen's known very well, right? Everybody knows the name, right? So taking the franchise, it's a very high value, right? So maybe a neighboring country, maybe it's not, as well known yet, right? But that means that the franchisors also have a big opportunity there too, right? Because, it's a really big opportunity to grow the brand.
Yeah. And there's still, we're prevalent, our brand is prevalent in some markets. And there's some markets that it's less prevalent in. And there's different areas in the states that we operate of that we're still introducing our brand, but it's easier when there's some familiarity with the brand versus absolutely none. To get the initial momentum of a brand takes time. It takes a lot of energy. It takes money. It takes time.
All the things.
Never as fast as anybody wants it. And it does feel when you're introducing your brand to a new territory, it is it feels like one person at a time. Although there's ways to just be more effective. I think sometimes when you go into something with like, let me just shove everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Your return on investment is going to be really tough to track. And it's also going to you're probably going to drown as a small business before you can make it out.
You have to make very lean decisions where you're going to get an ROI, lean decisions, small investments, gauge the ROI. I'm definitely going to agree. A lot of companies that have started with Clickable Impact, they're smaller. They have to make smaller investments to make sure they make the return. And then they're like, okay, as long as they're making money, they'll keep investing it. And it's so true. That's the way you have to start until you have a budget like Coca-Cola and then
or
Geico, the market. Geico,
yeah. These giant mega brands that have tremendous marketing spends and doing a commercial is no big deal. Well, that's not going to be a part of a small business's marketing strategy, probably. But I also think you have to know, when you're thinking about like what space or what platform you're spending your money, you have to know your audience, if that audience is using those platforms.
Right.
So my customer base, we've got obviously a wide range of customers, but my customer base, the bulk of my customers are pet owners. They are homeowners. They typically, there's not all, but a large chunk fall into a certain age bracket. And so that age bracket responds to marketing in a different way than maybe someone who's 18 and
Right.
or 19 living in a college dorm. It is just going to be kind of different for different people. But if you're a coffee shop that would have a lot of college students at it, go Twitter and social media and Instagram, like that should be your platform, because
Right.
all your customers are going to be there.
100%.
But not necessarily, mine may or may not be there. It's kind of,
you have to do an omni-channel presence.
Yeah, I was
sure.
kind of thinking that like during this time when people are home and just spending more time on their computers and things like that, people might pick up or get in front of customers that they wouldn't have normally got in front of.
Yeah.
Because it's forcing everybody to think really outside the box of, how do I communicate with my customers? How do I stay in touch with them? What do I do if they're not coming into my store? What do I do if they're not coming into my shop? What do I do if I'm not going to their home or like having any personal contact? I think that there's actually this weird opportunity that's going to allow people to maybe pick up new customers. Yeah. That they were just 100%. Not marketing, that they just weren't marketing them in a way that picked them up before this. I don't know. Here's hoping.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm seeing online, and the businesses that we're doing from B2B to B2C, the cost is going down because we have more online attention, but it's also because we're using these topics of the virus, of the recession, to appeal to the audience in a certain way that also aligns with the product, whatever it is, right? So it's also that too. You can't just advertise the same that you did before, because it almost serves as like a turnoff. Right. People are worried about their lives and all these things, right? You have to appeal to them in the way that, for one of our skincare lines, they have a special serum that helps like rehydrate your skin. It's called 11 Skin. And we were working on creating a campaign for dry hands, even though it's not usually for dry hands, but everybody's washing their hands all the time, right? So, using the serum will help with the dryness too. So I love that. Yeah, just something unique that, you want to do. There's all kinds of things that, we could be doing.
I think, it's definitely, to me, it's about my mantra right now has been about not necessarily reacting to what's going on, but certainly responding. Yeah. It's affecting people in all sorts of weird, different ways. And I think it warrants a response. So when you're marketing, you might not be a healthcare provider, but you have to think about, well, how am I responding to this? Yeah. In my way, in my industry. I think there's some perfume companies that are switching their factories to like hand sanitizer factories or something like that. And I think you would have just never thought of that. I think, someone sat down and really got creative and said, okay, look, we have the resources to contribute in some way, shape, or form. How do we pivot? Yeah. I know for us, like at Truly Nolen, we have always been a part of that sanitation process. Pest control and rodents and roaches. Yeah. We're used to having that conversation about sanitation. Yeah. We aren't always necessarily doing it in terms of a flu. Yeah. But, or a virus. Use it though. Yeah, but it's honestly right. We're not normally talking about people's health in terms of a respiratory issue all the time. Yeah. However, we do regularly talk about sanitation in the commercial industries. We do regularly talk about sanitation in the home. Right. Most people don't connect pest control and upper respiratory, but roaches are actually a major cause of respiratory issues. So when you have a roach infestation, I know, gross, right? Like, it's just, bugs are gross. Like, they just are. And
Other than ladybugs and butterflies, but
You're right. We'll take those. There's a couple good bugs that are people don't mind having in their gardens. Ladybugs are definitely a good side of a healthy garden, but they all serve a purpose. And I think that for pest control, we are deemed an essential service. The Homeland Security deemed us an essential service, and even states that are in right, yeah. So even states that are in, it's a huge win for on so many levels, from a community health standpoint, but also just from our business being able to keep people employed and keep the ball rolling and everything like that.
Dollars.
Yes. So from a marketing standpoint and just general communication, finding ways to communicate a little bit differently to our customers and letting them know, hey, we are part of the community health solution. Don't shy away from pest control. You don't want to be locked up home right now with bugs. It's already stressful being home. Like, you don't want to be locked up, and don't wait till you have an infestation. Because that means we have to come inside, and that's not going to be very fun. So especially in spring, it's kind of crazy. So in California, their whole state is a shelter in place right now, but we're still able to, I think I lost you.
You're good.
But we're still able to operate. So
right. I got
a lot of companies I think might be pulling back their marketing spend or getting very nervous from a cash flow standpoint of view. I think it's definitely, it's not about pulling back, but it's about how are we just tweaking, or how are we making sure we're a part of the solution.
Right.
And instead of just sitting back and be like, okay, let's duck our noses and wait for this to end.
Right. I got you. Hey, if you need to adjust your iPhone, it's cool.
Okay. How to plug it in.
Okay, I have an editor and stuff. He can crop it out. It's cool.
Okay. I know. I'm trying to think, how can I do that? Because my charger is like on the bottom. Right? So I am mavericking this.
Good. I maverick things every day, all day.
Okay. Back in business. Is it a little cockeyed? Okay.
Yes. No, you're good.
It'll be a little bit cockeyed.
Perfect. No,
anyway.
I don't see it unless my eyes are cockeyed. So. Oh man. Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting. It's really cool to hear the messaging and how relevant your business is, and going back to, pest control and health. And I feel like the Black Plague started from like rats, right? So, and
yes,
what they're talking about with the virus right now, it started from like wildlife and germs and from China or whatever, right? Eating bats and like all that, right? So that goes back to the whole conversation,
Pests is where it's at. Black Plague. This I'm assuming during the Black Plague, this is probably what it felt like. People were, felt a little on edge, especially if you're in a country that's really getting hit hard right now, like Italy. Like, people are getting sick around you. It's kind of freaky. You don't know where, when. I mean, we know a little bit more about this virus than people did at the time of the Black Plague, but it's definitely this just unknown kind of scary thing. But yeah, the Black Plague completely was a pest control issue. It was, rats and fleas and there's a lot of things that rats carry that are just not good for humans, and obviously can become a really big health problem. So as people are pulling away all their, pulling back on some of their spend on things, it definitely concerns me from a health standpoint of view. Like, not pest control, because I don't want to be dealing with this and the Black Plague. Like, we one pandemic at a time.
Exactly.
So our marketing efforts are completely to try to communicate that to people. And I think that people need to look at their businesses in a different way right now and say, okay, how does my business fit into the economic equation? How does my business fit into potentially the health equation? And just kind of get a little creative right now.
So I want to kind of like, go from, we're talking about the virus to like big picture, like 2020 for Truly Nolen, right? So what are the plans, relevant to the virus or not? I just want to hear like overall general plans. What are the plans for 2020? Has this current economic thing that's happening right now, has that changed the plans? And like, how do you guys go into planning every year and 2020? How do you make those decisions, and where you invest? What's the strategy? What are places for growth? All those things.
So, certainly this year, this was not on our original budget or plan. So we're in pivot mode. We're in pivot and replanning mode. And our team, I've got a killer executive team. So they huddled together, kind of put their heads together and said, okay, what can we do? And just focus on all the things.
Do you have? Who reports to you? Tell me a little bit about
that.
Yeah.
So the executive team is 10 folks. I have a C-suite. I have a CFO who does so much and has been so critical during this time. He's been awesome. His name's Matt Wild.
Money people.
Yes. And he does he's the money guy. But he's so much more. He really does a lot of long-term planning, and he's good at thinking differently. And I think that's critical when you have somebody directly reporting to you. Make sure that they think differently than you. That's like my biggest thing. Don't get someone that thinks exactly the same as you, or else it doesn't really help. And then the other person that directly reports to me is my COO, my Chief Operating Officer, Justin Bellett, who has such a deep understanding of this industry. And so when we pair my CFO and my COO together, it's kind of magic. So those are the two people that make up my C-suite. And then the other person that directly reports to me is my director of marketing, because I think that it's just an essential part of the business. It's marketing, and our marketing holds our brands so much. And to me, as the president, that's a key function of my role, is to ensure that brand equity. So I have director of marketing, my CFO, and my COO report directly to me. And then I oversee our executive team as a whole. And so on my executive team, I have a VP of HR. Her name's Darlene. I have my controller, Chandrise. I have George Lawler, who's our director of IT, which right now I am, he's just a godsend, because he's just crushing it. He was so ready for this. He was like, I got this, I got you. And he's thought about so many different ways where we can function in business right now. So hats off to all the IT directors right now, because I know that they're like, this is their time to really be a lot of businesses champions right now. And so that's been really cool. And then I also have a VP of technical and loss control. And that job is much more industry specific in the world, writing our protocols, and they're working on ways to help sanitize. So we have products that we have access to as pest control operators that we can help with sanitizing commercial avenues, residential. They just came in and did my office just a second ago. Nice. The team did. We've got some equipment, and we've got specialized equipment and products that you can't really buy at the store. So we're taking advantage of that a bit, and making me feel good sitting in the office. Not really, I know. I'm not too worried about germs, because they came in and like gave me a wash, and I was like, oh, I feel better.
You're pretty healthy too, so you got a healthy like immune system, and like you're not one of those at-risk people.
I'm not, so that gives me a bit of vote of confidence. I do have a lot of people though at risk at my work, so I'm always like a little bit, I always feel like Yeah, I can't get sick, even though I'll be medically probably okay, knock on wood. But
Yeah.
I feel like there's too many people around me that are in that at risk category. So, but
Right.
but anyway.
Awesome. That was, yeah, no, that's a big team. That's really cool. I definitely want to get into that. So 2020 picture, how has it changed? What are you looking to do in 2020?
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff.
Yeah. So the wellness is priority number one. Keeping people healthy is priority number one. It's always been a part of our strategy, but because of what's going on in the world, it just became number one. It became the top priority. We were scheduled this year. This was going to be a big growth year for us.
Yeah.
So we were making lots of investments for growth. We still want to grow, but we need to be realistic about what's happening in the world and the potential of the economic crisis. So staying in business, just sort of fundamentally staying in business. It's just, I mean, good. We probably, it seems so basic and simple, but a lot of small business, I mean, that's going to be a struggle. And sometimes we take for granted being able to stay in for business, but that actually is staying in business financially. What can we do to make sure that we have the cash flow to make sure our employees stay employed? That's critical. So that's my objective number 3, keep people employed. It's simple. Was not even on the radar a few months ago when we were planning for 2020, but it's become very relevant now. So, and then just coming out a bit stronger when we all get through this storm we're in right now. So, you know, so before this, when we, and still now, my broad vision was to implement something that I call the yellow standard.
Okay.
So kind of dubbed, so hear me out. So it's dubbed, it's dubbed after the gold standard. Okay. And so if those who are familiar with the Ritz-Carlton brand, we've all probably heard of the Ritz-Carlton, but a part of their brand and a part of their training, and they're very much known for service, is the gold standard. Mm-hmm. And in the Ritz-Carlton's core values is ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. And that's their gold standard. And I had this thought of how can we're in pest control. It's not a very sexy industry, but how can we provide just an exceptional experience? Mm-hmm. So instead of focusing necessarily on the product itself, I wanted to pivot and think more broad about the experience the customer had with the product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that. The yellow standard. No, I think
the yellow standard. So we put it on. Yeah. So the marketing team, of course, got fun, creative. They kind of put it on everything. And
I like yellow, the color too, because yellow is happiness, right? And you know, at Clickable, we always talk about you know, the transformation process that a customer goes through, right? So what's the day in the life of a customer without Truly Nolen? They're like, their life is awful. The dark clouds are out and hovering over their head all day long, right? Of this problem that they're dealing with, right? The pests, either in their business or home or whatever, right? And then they experience Truly Nolen, and then the rainbows come out, right? And the sunshine and all that, right? So that's kind of, I like that yellow standard is like that transformation process that you want to talk about and like make clear with the marketing team and make it like a branding ploy too. I think that's great.
Yeah. So I love how you just interpreted that. So because without even realizing it, so that is actually what I've asked all of the employees to do, is literally define what the yellow standard means to them. Mm-hmm. I very intentionally didn't define it. I simply introduced it, and I invited people to define it for them. What does the yellow standard mean to them? Like, you know, very broadly, it's all about providing an exceptional world-class customer experience, but that could mean a million different things to a million different people. And so I love how you kind of ran with it, not even knowing like some of our backstory. So that's really cool. So yeah, this is the, if you can see, this is the part of our logo.
Hell
and
yeah,
yellow's been our signature color, so it just sort of made sense. And
everyone's seen the little car with the ears.
Yes, little yellow mouse car.
Mouse car,
it's like, it's about, you know, having some fun, bringing a smile, you know, to people's face. And as a internal marketing strategy and external marketing strategy, I hope it resonates with people, and then they interpret it on their own. So that's really been just the broad strategy and for 2020. And even with the virus, to me, it doesn't necessarily change that, because the yellow standard to me is about raising the bar. And there's no option not to raise the bar at this time. I mean, people can either quit or raise the bar right now. You're either, you know, gonna thrive or you're not. And to me, this is the time for leaders to sort of
lead. Leaders gotta lead.
Yeah. Leaders gotta lead. So
I can't agree with you more, for sure. I mean, you know, at Clickable too, we've done so many pivots, and like I was saying, like it's just, you know, as far as my role too with my team, you know, we got to make sure, like we call our, kind of like your CMO is like our digital strategist, right? They had the strategy for all the accounts. And, you know, we have to pose the question for them is like, how do we make the company successful in this recession? Well, it's creative marketing, you know? So, you know, and I'm going back to jumping around here, back to the yellow standard. I like those little brandable isms that happen. So you're using it internally too. You know, we like creating those for like product features and things like that. Like this golf tee product, Flight Path, that we have. There's a special arrow on the golf tee that we call the Smart Arrow, and the Smart Arrow is basically helps you shoot straighter and further if you've ever played golf, right? Yeah.
I like that.
There's a couple other things that the inventor of the team made it so that people can shoot straight and further. But that little marketing ism is super easy for people to remember. A Smart Arrow, right? Or like we've said, Smart Ship is like a subscription type feature to, you know, the website on people that can order subscription, right? So your yellow standard could be a reminder for like, you know, after every service for people to get reviews, you know, and things like that. And like making sure that it's up to this par, like 4.5 stars or up. That's what we consider in the yellow standard. Or maybe you could do like a yellow standard award every year or something cool like that, internal marketing, you know. But I love that. I think you can do a lot with that, even for external marketing, on making, you know, making the Truly Nolen experience, like, you know, making sure it's par to this standard, right? I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's it. And that's kind of where we want to go with it. We want it to be a reward. People that are rising up right now, definitely acknowledge them as exemplifying the yellow standard. And you know, businesses and individuals that are kind of rising up right now, I think that they are serving that yellow standard. We've actually even had some of our vendors that we deal with sort of adopt the phrase. It wasn't intentional, but they've actually adopted it into their own internal, and we think that's awesome. They've kind of jumped on this yellow standard bandwagon that's starting to pick up that phrase with some of our vendors, people that we buy our products from and things like that, kind of playing around with what that means to them. So it's been fun.
No, I think that's a great idea. I think you can spin off so many different things. You know, we've been working on, you know, creating more awards and things like that, like the CEO award, you know, a client that's just been really awesome and they're gung-ho, they're scaling their business and they're easy to work with. And, you know, we want to be able to create an award like that. And we have we have a little holiday party every year. Well, not a little one, but we just started it, and it was like, 70 people. We packed the office out, but that would be cool to like give a little award out there, just recognition. People like they want to exemplify where they need to be, like a North Star, right? So doing
Yeah.
types of things, I think that's really smart of you to do, for sure. So I guess what else is in your daily role? Like, tell us more about, the daily life of the president, right? I think a lot of people have different ideas of like what president is versus CEO, and like what the role is expected. And I want you to go into like more of your daily, like, what is it like, or, the
What do I do every day? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's one sort of box for CEO or president and what they do every day. So, but I can only speak to sort of my style, if you will. So my company doesn't have a CEO. In a lot of companies, it's like CEO / president sometimes.
Too. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Right, but yeah, interesting.
No, yeah, no. So it's we just don't have we don't have a CEO, and we've gone through different things and different titles and things, but so how I approach it is, and no, every day is a little bit different, but my days are oftentimes spent, or portion of my day is spent thinking about the broader direction and sort of just the bigger picture. Where are we going?
Right.
And I would say all people in executive roles are thinking that way, or should be thinking that way.
Yeah.
And specifically, so, just what do I do in the morning? I come in, I oftentimes just run through my email, see I need to answer immediately. I like to listen to music when I do that.
Or are you a faster? Do you eat breakfast, or do you fast?
I am a must breakfast person.
Okay.
I can't function without breakfast. In fact, there's like a little snack bar in my office that is critical, because if I don't eat, like, it's not good for anybody. Nice. So I normally eat. I normally eat oatmeal in the morning.
Nobody likes a hangry executive,
Nobody likes a hangry executive. No.
Nobody
so
makes me hangry either. So.
I normally eat oatmeal in the morning because I can't really cook, so it's easy, and I microwave it, and I come in, I listen to a little bit of music. I normally try to go around and say hi to everybody. Now I'm kind of doing a wave and respecting that 6 feet. So doing some distancing, and I'm spending, whether it's a couple hours or a couple minutes every day, I'm spending some time trying to reach out to my employee base.
Right.
So my employees are spread out pretty far. And so to me, it's important that I have some sort of connection at some level. So sometimes that looks like posting on LinkedIn, because I know a handful of the employees are really active on there. And sometimes we have Yammer. It's like Facebook. It's like an internal kind of Facebook. So sometimes
social media. That's
we
crazy.
sure do. We sure do. So people post all sorts of what's happening in their office, what's happening in their home life sometimes, and stuff that they don't really want to put on Facebook.
Okay. What? You don't like repurpose any of it for like social, right? It's just internal.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes we'll snag content off of it and use it. Nice. But yeah, so sometimes it's someone celebrating like a sale, and we're in a contract, and we might not necessarily put that on social media.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of internal celebration type of thing that we might not necessarily share externally. But so I try to get on there. I certainly do a lot of videoing. So I'm on, my day is videoing. And just checking in on people, how their department's going, how their day is going. Have we thought about this? Have we thought about, how can we scale this? How can we think bigger? How can we have a broader impact? When's the last time we reviewed this? I don't give a ton of direction. I try to just give a bunch of empowerments and ask questions. That's lends a little bit to my style, but I also I've got a really killer team. So normally if I just sort of step back, they just create the coolest stuff. So it makes my life pretty easy when I've got an incredible team to do that. But I think my job is making sure that those leaders are in a creative state of mind and they are challenged and they're celebrated.
Right.
And I think that if the top leaders have those things going for them, then everything else will trickle down.
Right.
In us.
So it sounds to me like you're a in the gray leader. You're not like black or white, like it's either this or that. You're
right,
like
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. That's very much my leadership style too. I'm very like in the gray. The answer's always in the middle when somebody's like, no, it's this, no, it's that. No way, guys. In the middle.
Yeah, no, it's funny because we had a decision to make last week. Not even just last week, we're thinking about it regularly is, do we email our customers? Do we email all of our customers? A lot of companies are emailing their customers, and some of those emails are getting lost in the shuffle. Some of those emails might be really helpful. And
emailing them, like sending out an email campaign, like company-wide.
Sending them an email campaign in regards to the virus. I mean, everybody's thinking about it. And so my approach was, instead of giving a directive, we did a debate. And so I divided the executive team in half, and each side I sort of assigned 5 people have to advocate for this, and 5 people have to advocate against it. And even the people that were probably wanted to be on the other side, like they found a way, and we had a lot of fun. I mean, there wasn't a real roadmap. There wasn't a clear answer, and I have my thoughts on it, but I really value my team's opinion. And so we had a lot of fun debating, and the answer just sort of came to the forefront through the debate process. So that's something I love to exercise.
That's cool.
Crazy hyper competitive. So anytime I can like add a competition to anything, I think it's more fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I love that. That's a good tool. I'm definitely going to steal from you, making everybody debate what the answer is and assigning team members. That's a good one. Because it makes you think, even if you're thinking about the other side, you got assigned to this side, it makes you think about the other side too. So what was the answer for the email or no email?
So right now, as of today, we are communicating with our customers from our website. So we changed our website banner, and all of our customers receive a service ticket, and most of them are receiving like an email service ticket. So so we changed. We're in the process of adding some verbiage to our service ticket to try to reassure people that we are thinking about it and what are the steps we're taking to make sure their health is most important. And many of our protocols require us to just be outside and wear gloves and wear safety protection equipment. So in that regard, we're already there. Yeah. Wearing gloves and masks, and like, it's just a Tuesday for us. Like, it's just a normal day of the week. So pest control operators are really in a position to do some of these things, and we're most effective on the exterior of a home. So aside from saying, hey, we're not going to knock on your door because we don't want to put anybody in an uncomfortable position, or we're not going to require your signature on something because we want to give that opportunity. We've got a lot of customers that are 60 plus, so we want to give them that extra social distancing just to make sure that they feel comfortable, regardless if, even though if we feel very confident that we're not sick, like they don't know, they might not know that. So it's
Right.
sometimes just giving the peace of mind, because I think that the anxiety from this world crisis is just as real as the physical health issue. The mental health issue is, I think, a huge impact too. So
Right. Thinking back to what you were saying before, you kind of check in with people during the day, people who report to you, maybe people who don't report to you, the 60 different countries you're in, who reports to who on that? Like, how do you,
yeah,
VP of franchising, or go ahead and tell me a little bit about that.
how do you,
Do you
so
give them strategy and tools and resources too? How does that all work?
So technology is our friends, and we've been doing international franchisees since 1988, which then at that time, my dad was flying. He was flying when he wanted to meet with somebody. You flew to go see them, and so we do a lot of training. So to provide them support, we're doing a lot of virtual training, and we provide some marketing. Everything we have, we just give. I mean, their success is our success. So if we have a campaign, if we have a protocol or a product that we really believe in, we give them some guidance on that, and really act as just a guide and a business coach for them. Now, every country has different laws. Every country has different, a product that you can use in the US, you can't necessarily use it in Germany. So every single thing has to be adapted to that country. So that country has to sort of know their market and everything like that, and be the experts in their country. But there's just certain things that are universal. There's networking.
Right.
Is universal. The need on the commercial side, certainly in like a factory that exports goods, or a restaurant, their needs are the same all over the world. They can't operate with pests. And internationally, pest control is definitely a commercial. There's more of a commercial emphasis, and versus like in homes and residentially. So it's required commercially. It's required commercially here in America too, but internationally there's a huge emphasis on that. So that's really where we target and where we encourage. And what's neat is, because we have the 60 plus countries, they just share ideas.
Right.
So so recently we had one country that said, hey, we're offering right now our customers, in addition to pest control, we're offering some sanitation services, like in addition to our pest control. That was one country that came up with that idea. We've shared it everywhere, and we're working right now to be able to provide that service.
Revenue stream, boom, double
trouble. So
great. Because you have just tools and chemicals, right, to be able to do that, or it's probably like just a little bit of a pivot and you get X more ROI. That's great.
I mean, it's about sharing ideas and networking ideas. It's the same. They have the same needs.
Yeah, right. That's great.
So if small businesses don't necessarily have a bunch of countries to network with and share ideas, there's so many ways to do that, obviously now, and on video, and joining a networking group and say, okay, what are you doing? What's working? What sales, what sales approaches are you doing? What marketing approaches are you doing? And sometimes they'll work in one country and sometimes they won't. And sometimes it's just trial and error of knowing your community and knowing what's important to your customer.
So how do you guys pick people that are going to launch like a new franchise location? Is there, for the entrepreneurs listening too, are there any opportunities to become, it's called a franchisee, right?
Yeah. So, couple ways they find out: word of mouth, stuff like this, where it's, I never thought about that. Right now, people are probably thinking about, hey, I'd love to be in a recession. it might be on their minds, like, I'm a business owner, but my business is really struggling through this recession. I'd love to shift gears and be in a industry that's more recession proof. And pest control happens to be one of the handful of industries that are a bit more recession proof than others, like insurance and the funeral home industry, kind of recession proof industries. And so people find their way to pest control in all sorts of different ways. You know, even I can openly and proudly say most people don't grow up thinking that they're going to be in pest control, including myself. Like, no, there's most kids on career day. Yeah, when you're in the 5th grade and it's career day or whatever, and you want to be a fireman or a teacher, or, you know, all these, or a rock star. There's not so many kids saying, I can't wait to be a pest control operator. So people find their way into this industries in the strangest ways. And a lot of times it's either I was in a business that wasn't recession proof is one that I hear often. And I want to be in a business that I feel that's consistent, that's solid, that's reliable. Or they've got a friend or a family member that's in it, and they sort of jump on the pest control bandwagon. And when you do, no pun intended, but I call it catching the bug. You just sort of get addicted. You catch the bug. And so our franchise owners, they can go on, I know it's really corny, but so
that could be another marketingism. I don't know yet, but might be onto something.
I might be onto something. Yeah. So they find us in different ways, word of mouth, through other you know, they just talk to different people.
So
they go online.
Actively marketed, like that you spent like an investment in. It's been more word of mouth.
It's a lot more referral based. There's a couple places that we do a little bit of marketing. So there's different platforms that advertise specifically to someone just seeking any franchise.
Yeah.
Franchise.com. And so so you can be on that platform. There's brokers that sort of specialize in pairing up someone who is looking, an entrepreneur spirit that wants to go into that franchising model,
right?
Wants the guidance and support of a franchise model versus complete jumping in an industry by themselves. A franchise opportunity sort of, it gives you a lot of guidance. It tells you the best practices. And what's kind of neat is we've tried it a million different ways and we've made all the mistakes. And now you just get to jump in and not make all the mistakes that we have. And it's so much easier. Yes, there's some royalties, and yes, there's you do share your profits a bit with that parent company, but
they get you as a coach.
They get us as a coach, and the likelihood of succeeding is so much higher than someone who's just jumping into a business that they don't necessarily have the same level of experience in as an entrepreneur. So there's a little bit more security, not only in the industry, but just the idea of being in a franchise in general. But so people sometimes find us just going onto our website and just being curious. We've had employees that they start off as corporate employees, and they're like, you know what? I really want to move to Alabama and open my own spot. I want to open my own Truly Nolen. And so when they do that, we help them, we coach them, we help them with that transition. I actually had someone that I mentored recently. He came to me and was like, I really want to be, he was a technician, wanted to open his own franchisee. And we just talked about it. But a long conversation. Well, why do you? What are you going to get from that? From even just like a human level? My background is in counseling, and the lifetime before this, I used to be a counselor. So people's personal well-being is really important to me. So just talking to him about what will this fulfill in you? And we kind of went on this little, journey together, just talking it through. And we realized that a franchise wasn't really going to address some of his needs or some of his desires, but it was sort of just the start of a conversation to some other things that I think, hopefully led to some different fulfilling aspects in his life of some other personal development that he needed to go after, or felt that he needed to go after. So people come in different ways.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool though. That's really cool. Well, how long do you guys like offer like coaching for a franchise? So, if somebody were to buy in today, how does that work? Like, what if they're having a trouble now and they bought like 5 years ago? Can they just call you? Like, how does that work?
Oh, yep. So we've got a team. We've got a franchise team that are dedicated to that group that better understand their world and their needs. And they meet as a whole group once a week. But then individual coaching, they're available any day of the week, 24/7. And then as long as you're a part of our brand, I mean, we're 100% available to you. And I mean, we've maintained relationships with our franchisees indefinitely. So if they want to talk to anybody in our company, then they certainly can. And I get to meet with them in person annually. At minimum, this past year we did something at Disney. It was kind of fun, Disney Springs.
Nice.
And it was like a little family reunion, and people brought their families and their kids, and we talked about business. We talked about marketing. We talked about sales strategy. We talked about territory development, because ultimately we talked about the yellow standard and what that could mean to them. And ultimately, it's, as long as they're successful, then it's a win-win-win. So win for the brand, win for Truly Nolen, the corporate, and win for them as a budding entrepreneur.
Wow. Yeah. How many team members are there in the Truly Nolen? Like, if you were to count everybody, just gross, like 60 countries, how many heads is that?
So that's a hard number to pin down. It's roughly, so not counting all the people from a franchise, the international franchise, but just domestically, it's about 1,200 people.
Okay.
And
that's a city.
That varies. Yeah, so it's about 1,200 people, and it's kind of crazy because it's, in some hands it's a big number, in some ways it's not a big number. And how you stay connected to people, and you get to know people over like periods of time. You really start to get to know people. We're a family business, so we start to intertwine a bit with people's families over time. We have quite a few employees that are related to each other in some way, like in-laws, married, nephews, brothers, sons. We've got a lot of we call them partners, but our employees are partners that are also our literally family members. So
that's awesome. We definitely have like a family culture too. We don't have like full families yet. I don't have a budget for that. But I think a lot of our team members like feel like Clickable is a family. And we went to, last September, I took the leadership team to New York, and that was fun. Yeah, we did a little like vision board the first day. I rented out an Airbnb on the Hudson River. We like overlooked the Hudson, so that was kind of fun. And yeah, it's a little bit different culture, because I have people that are like, that do marketing, right? So I don't tell them when to come in the office. They come in whenever, except for this week it's closed because of the virus. But but the only people that actually come in are, we have a mini fulfillment center too for like smaller e-commerce stores. So those are really the only people that have set hours, and not really even then, they just have to do the units by a certain time period. But on top of that, it's like, no matter where we're going, we have like such a like meshed in culture where everybody just believes in the vision, and they love the hustle. They love the entrepreneurship piece of what we do, because, our job is really like to come up with the ideas, and execute it too. But how do we make it different? How do we make the business and the branding and the marketing different so that, you know, we can win a certain market share, right? And on top of that, you know, that kind of like warrants us bigger than a regular agency. I'm starting to coin like the verbiage of like calling us a growth agency, because it's not really about marketing with us. It's about, you know, how do we scale the business to a certain level to where we can say, okay, this is success, right? I mean, we do have like a creative team, ads team, email marketing team, and things like that. But how do we really, you know, carve out the market to where we can say, okay, we've done, you know, 4x or 5x this year, you know, on this specific amount of sales that we wanted to get. You know, that's been really the conversation that we've been having with a lot of different brands, online marketing, you know. And it's really interesting because the lead gen for franchising is interesting. We're actually starting a lead gen project for franchising. So talking like B2B is way different than having an online e-commerce store where you're talking B2C, you're selling like glasses, or like I was saying before, golf tees, you know. So, you know, the content that it warrants to do that is way different too. The platforms that you advertise on are different in a way. You know, I'd say Facebook is a great go-to for any brand, right? Because 1 out of 4 people in the entire world have a Facebook, right? But LinkedIn, like you were saying before, you know, you're posting on LinkedIn, you know, internally. LinkedIn is a great platform right now just for organic marketing, not even talking about paid ads, right? Paid ads, it's a little expensive. But your audience is a lot more affluent though, and they have they're on LinkedIn for a very specific time in their heads of the day where they're ready to receive business oriented content, right? Growth content, marketing, sales content, right? So, you know, paying that extra budget, you know, does make sense if you have the right funnel, right? The right way to acquire information, lead information, get the sales team on, things like that. So it's really interesting to hear like how you guys do the marketing, how you're structured too. It makes me like think by osmosis, you know, but which makes me think of Vistage, right? So I'm a Vistage member, you're a Vistage member, I'm in the like, I'm starting level, you're like in the big dog level.
But, it's all the same. There's so many similarities.
For sure. But, you know, I think, you know, there's a lot of things that I learned from Vistage that I can't really pinpoint that day, but I'll be like 30 days later, or like 60 days, 90 days later, I'll be like, yeah, this is where I applied it, right? That learning by osmosis thing.
I love that.
I
get little, like a seed will plant with Vistage, and I have my notes from Vistage and I'll pull it out. It's from time to time, and I don't know when or how, like kind of what you said. Sometimes I don't know when or how I'm going to apply it, but then it eventually becomes that lesson or that idea that you got from Vistage, it becomes very relevant at a certain time for whatever reason. And it's like, oh, okay, thank God. Thank God I was there. Thank God, you know, I was a part of that Vistage moment to help me. Vistage is like my therapy. I love bouncing ideas off of people. It's nice to have all the different perspectives. I mean, it's really just, I feel like I play hooky a little bit when I get a Vistage. Like from my just regular office routine. So
it does feel like that for sure. I mean, I look at it as a retreat. I look at it as, well, I don't know about your Vistage chair, but my chair doesn't let us use our phones at all. So, but I've actually learned that as a discipline on just putting your phone on airplane mode. Everybody on my team knows that they're not going to hear from me for the day. They all know they see that Vistage calendar invite for the whole day. They're like, okay, she's not available.
Maybe you're in your little Vistage bubble of.
Exactly. But that's honestly the time where I have the biggest moments of like, oh, I got to do this, or I got to focus on that, or, with us, like we're up high right here. So it's, you're like playing a lot of different roles, and there's a lot of different fires that are happening all the time. So it's hard to ever like get a clear breath and be like, oh, I can see this and I can see the North Star. So that, I think this stage is like that one day that I put in to just say like, I'm going to focus on the North Star. I'm not going to focus on like the day to day. And, obviously the cliche work on your business, not in your business thing. But I think that's so true though, because,
Yeah.
if you spend time to think about it, if you spend time to plan, I feel like a lot of executives like that don't do that. I mean, I could only imagine if I didn't have that extra day, I would just be like running the hamster wheel every day, and not like
fast.
breathing. Yeah.
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 There's something that I do that it's sort of working in the business a bit, but working on it at the same time. So I developed a Truly Development Program, TDP, and I initiated the program like a few years ago. I wasn't president, but it was basically a program to work with people on their personal and professional development. I started before I was in Vistage. It was something that I did. So basically we've got employees that have an interest to be in the program, and then they get nominated by their manager and district manager. And they're technicians, they're salespeople, they're admins that just want to work on their personal development and see how their personal development impacts their professional development. And we meet on video once a week, and we meet on Mondays. And I have different leadership topics that I do each week. And they're supposed to be learning from me, but I'm normally sitting there taking loads of notes and sort of learning from them, because I sit and learn about, okay, what's happening in, their branch in New Mexico, what's happening in their, what's happening with them in Texas, with a customer in Texas, what's happening and, in what are they experiencing? What are the sales objections, or what are the challenges that they're experiencing in California? And then, I get to write all my notes down, even though I'm facilitating really an opportunity for them to learn a little bit broader, become a little bit more well-rounded in our business. But it's it's a little bit of a back and forth that they don't realize it's for selfish reasons.
Yeah.
This, but a lot of people, we develop them. Some get promoted out of, they're in the program and they get promoted to different leadership or training positions. But it's very self-serving to facilitate the meeting.
No, yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, in my Vistage group, a lot of people aren't like the CEOs; they're like the VPs or sales executives or whatever. So that kind of gives me a different edge too, because I'm always like up here, and I don't get down there a lot, So it's really interesting to see like when they come out with issues, how do they resolve conflict, and how do they if it's something that they can't solve, then how do they think creatively to solve maybe an issue that might solve that issue, to be like, always working to make the best utopian, idealistic, version of it, right? So it's always an interesting thought to me, because like we never had those problems if you're a high level exec, right? And you're trying to make the best out of it. You don't necessarily have those issues, but it lets me think about ways to structure different conflicts and things like that, or if something's not working, how do we do better to make it work? One of our values at Clickable Impact is pivot fast, pivot smart. So if something's not working, you gotta pivot. Like you were talking about your 2020 goals. It wasn't in the roadmap to have like this whole recession / virus / like, almost end of the world, but not really.
Yeah.
You gotta pivot things, especially with you as a leader. You gotta really like set that mindset, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
we're still going for it, or we're still going for our goals, and this is gonna make us stronger. So I think my question for you is like, when you're talking about marketing and you guys are investing into maybe a certain channel or a certain strategy, how do you know when to pivot from that if it's not working, and how long do you give it? If you're talking to like your marketing director or CFO, how long do you give it until you're like, okay, that shit ain't working, we got to do something else?
Yeah. That's a great question. So some of it's gut, and I think historically it used to be a lot of your gut intuition.
Yeah.
We are measuring things with tremendous precision, and we can, look at the click rate and look at the lead flow. So what we're doing right now, and we do it year round, but we're honing in on with a little more intensity right now, just because of, you don't know, like, we're not in a time where you can waste a single dollar right now. Like, every dollar needs to count. Every dollar that you're spending on marketing really has to count. So you can't like throw the marketing dollars at the wall. Like maybe a couple of years ago, you're like, oh yeah, let's just try this. It's like, no. Like this dollar needs to lead to a sales. That's the feeling to go after things. So, I mean, more specifically, we're noticing a lot less people are in their cars right now. So we've kind of pulled back on our radio ads because people aren't listening to the traffic advisory to and from work. That used to be something we would put a lot of our advertising on and catch people to or from work. People aren't going to work. So we reduced our radio spend a little bit and pulled back on that. But that wasn't that was only a sliver of our marketing budget. Right. The bulk of our marketing budget really does go into Google. So we're watching that based on lead flow, and we compare, we get with people that are experts this is like going back to like find your expert, because you gotta have your expert in this. This is, comparing ourselves. Well, how many people are even just Googling pest control right now compared to where we are? Are we above average or below average? And so it's not necessarily about getting people to Google pest control if they're completely not. It's about when they do Google pest control, are they finding us? And so we just always have to stay a little bit above that curve of all the people that are looking for pest control, making sure that we're a little bit ahead of the game.
Right.
The cost per click in some areas is kind of going down right now. So
that's good.
So our lead flow is slightly down. It's like down about 10% right now. However, the leads that we are getting, our close rate is just, the leads that we are getting are really quality leads. And so it's sort of in a weird way, like balancing itself out. So we're technically a little bit more efficient with our marketing spend right now, kind of an unintended consequence of what's happening in the world right now. But we are ready to sort of flip the switch on our Google spend right now, like at a moment's notice, and just watching it every day. And we've got someone dedicated to tracking to it and marking it in the mornings, the afternoons, and watching not just one person, but a small team watching the nation on where things are being hit. We used to do a lot of billboards. We used to be like really heavy into billboards.
I feel like there's one on I-4 or something. Maybe that's the sign I'm thinking of. I don't know.
We've got a big sign. We've done some I-4 billboards. So we kind of go hot and cold with them. Orlando's a weird market to do billboards because there's so many billboards. It's hard to compete.
Yeah.
The company that has the biggest stakeholder, there's two companies that have a really big stakeholder on the billboard, and that's obviously Disney. And it's really difficult to beat Disney billboards. They do it, especially Halloween Horror Night billboards. They're animated, they're crazy, they're super, and they do a ton. So they don't do like one or they're 3D, and there's like 17 of them on I-4. So it's hard to compete. You get washed out, and then Tiffany's
house being like,
yeah. So years ago, this is sort of like a little history, not funny story, not so fun. Yeah, it's kind of funny to us now, but
We like the
so
not so funny stories too. So
yeah. So this was a marketing. My dad had a great sense of humor, and it was, I would say, a marketing genius, certainly. So he put up a billboard that said, Mickey Nolan, or sorry, it said, Truly Nolen, not even Mickey is safe.
oh
So here's a
yeah.
tidbit. It's a bad idea to ever threaten Disney.
Oh,
You never want to threaten Mickey Mouse, especially in
God.
Orlando. So it was sort of done in humor, and what the world didn't know, and what my dad he was laughing to himself, because I have a cousin named Mickey, and my cousin Mickey actually we're a pest control family. He also has a pest control company called Nolan, and it's an excellent business, and they are in West Palm and more of the east coast of Florida. And so we were just poking fun and having a little bit of fun. Obviously, the inside joke was only with us, and most people read it as we were threatening Mickey Mouse's life, which is an absolute no-no. And so that was
Lesson learned.
Disney didn't like that so much, so we ended up taking it down. But it was a really great billboard. It kind of was. It did get a lot of attraction. That was years ago. Get a lot of attraction. So
I feel like I did see that. Yeah.
So we kind of.
People are just gonna be butthurt. It's all good, you know.
You got to have fun with billboards. We've kind of gone hot and cold with them. The downside about a billboard at a time like this, I mean, this is a time that's really hard to predict, but you kind of can't take down a billboard the way you can take down a Google ad.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you can't track the result unless you have like a landing page like trulynolen.com/ free
right
offer,
and right like, and even if you have a special phone number on your billboard, they're going to go to your website.
Yeah,
people are just going to go and click on your website. So billboards are hard to track. They're hard to be effective because it's easy for them to get lost. I'm not saying don't do billboards. We do billboards here and there, but in a city like Orlando, the return on investment can be a little bit wishy-washy. Yeah, it's tough to measure, and they get lost in high volume marketing agencies where by the time you get to work, you've seen a million advertisements on your phone. By the time you get sitting at your desk, you go on Facebook, you go on, you've seen 20 different little mini billboards, and you forgot about the billboard driving to work. Right. No, definitely. If you have, I would agree with you. I mean, you can't like, we go with the words when we run ads: test, analyze, optimize, right? So you can't really do that with billboards at all. On top of, tracking is really hard. If it doesn't work, it takes time and money to take that down. You can do electronic billboards, and those are a lot more cost effective, a few $100 a month actually. But even then, with a company that has a smaller budget, smaller six-figure, marketing budget that like really needs to make an ROI out of it, I would say too, like, probably not billboards. You probably want to go online, and with every dollar you need to get ROAS, return on ad spend, So yeah, no, it's I would say billboards are like at the top of the funnel. It's like a piece of the very top of the funnel. Awareness. And when you're Disney, you have a very big funnel. So that makes sense for certain companies to do. But yeah. So we sometimes do it, and sometimes we fit it into our budget, and sometimes we don't. And some markets seem to respond to those billboards, while others, it's not so great. So it just sort of all depends. But right. Other than Google, have you seen any other golden nugget like channels that are working really well for you? I mean, you guys talked a little bit about email marketing, right? So do you guys have any other like really like golden nugget areas that are doing well, especially in this weird time? Yeah. So it's something that I think, so some people are shying away from it. Some people are leaning towards it, but direct mail, even though it's sort of like a dying breed a bit, in some areas people are like, no, paper or direct mail is so old school. It still continues to be a part of our bread and butter. And we continue to do direct mail. Some of that direct mail gets in the trash. We know that, but we try to get really creative with our, with what we do, give people quality direct
you
mail.
got to give them an offer that like really makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
So we try to be intentional with our direct mail and put some thought into what people are going to actually be looking at to make sure that doesn't end up in the trash. And, but we still do direct mail, which is sort of like an oldie, but a goodie. Right now we can do direct mail.
It's an oldie but a goodie. I'm stealing that.
It's a direct mail, oldie but a goodie. Like it's when in fail direct mail. I don't know. I just made that up, but well, and people are home. They got time to look through their mail. I don't know. They're bored out of their mind. They're probably alphabetizing their mail right now. People are
exactly.
So they got time. So the other thing we did, which this is really out of the box, super creative. The marketing team came up with this just a few days ago during this time. So I'll tell you what we typically do and then how we try to pivot it. Mm-hmm. So what we typically do is we spend a lot of times in schools, which I feel like are at the heart of all of our communities, our residential communities. So we go into schools and we teach kids about good bug, bad bugs. We do like a fun lesson. Cool. And they all, the mouse car, they get a picture with mouse car, which is sometimes kind of fun. We've got a mouse limo.
I'm sure. Nice
mouse. It's a PR. It's super. People climb in it. We do. How many kids can fit into the limo? Obviously, we're not doing that anymore. But
we're definitely gonna have to do the next podcast in the mouse limo.
In the limo. Oh my gosh, that would be good. Yeah. So when we can get back under 6 feet, we got to do that. So since we aren't visiting schools, obviously right now as they're shut down and we got to do some social distancing. We put together a little video and we put together coloring books that are like Truly Nolen coloring books. Nice. And we are sending them digitally. They're on our website. And for people that are sitting home with their kids and need creative things or creative ideas to do with their kids, we're giving that to our customers as an option.
That's awesome.
As a mom of a very rambunctious 3-year-old, he's about to be 4, I'm running, you can only do so many activities. And so when other people give me ideas, it's very helpful. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I would say like running an ad too on Facebook, or like a retargeting ad. If somebody had visited your website, book a service, right, with Truly Nolen and get a free coloring book.
Oh yeah, that's a great,
that might be a good little offer on we usually do like a waterfall retargeting strategy on Facebook. And it'll say, on Facebook, it'll be like, okay, this ad is going to be shown to this person who went on this page, right? This ad is going to be shown to this person who, visited the home page within the last 30 days. And if they see this video, if they view the video 50%, then they get this new ad, So I would say, for families, that would be a really cool, thing to do. But if you guys do decide to do the email too, you could just give out the coloring book there too.
Yeah, I like
or
that.
even a mailer too. You could put trulynolen.com/free coloring book, and that's how they redeem the offer. And some of the mailers that we've done, we put the QR code, so you can scan your phone on the mailer and then it takes you to the landing page really quick.
All really good ideas. Mailers, oldies but goodies. That's it's these oldies but goodies. It's like your basic. We can't do door to door right now, but we can do something. I've encouraged people, especially for like our commercial businesses, like a old fashioned handwritten letter I know
Yes.
I open those, I read them. They normally live on my desk for
Yeah.
a long time. And I always like getting them. I get hit up by different businesses and stuff, and I always like getting them. And if somebody takes the time to give me a handwritten letter, I'll give them I'll give them 15-minute pitch time. And I
Right.
think that works for me. That works on me. And I'm always open to hear someone's 15-minute pitch, like, especially if they're giving that effort. So I think it's a good way to sort of stay connected. So when we do get like through this and
Yeah.
when we're all done with this crazy storm,
Yeah.
this Corona storm, then we'll be, your business will be there, ready, on top of people's minds.
That's a good idea. I think handwritten notes are really great too. And doorbuster gifts. What do you think of those? Like if somebody got you like chocolate, cookies, or something personality driven. Yeah.
I love it. So I definitely,
like, oh, let me call this person.
yes, I wear a size 7.5 shoe for anybody's listening. No, so no, I love those things. I got some really, I had a bank that gave me an umbrella, and I used the umbrella all the time.
No
And
way.
it came with a really great stolen, like always protecting you. It had a little metaphor with an umbrella, but
What?
like right now I'm telling everybody about it. I tell a lot of people about the umbrella idea. I had one where I've seen someone went and bought a little baby shoe, and you attach a note to it and you send it to something, and it's about getting your foot in the door.
What?
I think it's the coolest, most creative thing. And I think if somebody comes up with something cool, creative, they earn the right to the conversation that might lead to a sale. They earn that right to at least have the platform for a pitch. And it's also much more likely to get to the decision maker if something comes with a doorbuster. I mean, I got chocolates. I shared them with everybody. I'm not a chocolate eater, so I was giving them away to everybody. And so, yeah, I think those are, especially when you have a targeted client that you would be a perfect client for you, going, that extra mile. If you think about the cost of acquisition for a customer,
yeah,
a box of bagels is nothing compared to the cost of acquisition for, Google or some other platforms.
Right.
So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for your marketing insights. That was great. It's really cool to see like a bigger company and how you think and how you pivot too. You actually sounds like you're really agile. So, still, even though you have a big team, it sounds like you guys are still really interconnected and you're looking and tracking data all day long and making decisions all day long, depending on whatever parameters there are. So that's really cool. I want to be cognizant of your time. I know we're closer to lunch. So I wanted to ask you, like, what's your motivational quote? Like one that you like go by, like super hardcore. And how does that work for you in life, and how does that motivate you?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I'll go through little mantras here and there. I've got one that
I'm sure you have a bunch.
Well, I have one that is literally Scotch taped to my monitor, and
Nice.
I'll share it with you, but I have to explain it. So this is a phrase that comes from, I should know this better, but I think it comes from Argentina or Chile. This is a phrase, and then when you translate it to English, it sort of sounds funny, but it resonates with me. So the phrase is, and I literally have it printed out and Scotch tape, nothing fancy, on my monitor, and says, "You can't eat an elephant all at once. You have to eat it spoon by spoon."
Okay. I wasn't
extremely, yeah. Extremely graphic, right? I don't advocate eating elephant or anything like that. But so when I became the president about a year ago, I think it's like I'm on my president anniversary, 1 year as president.
Congrats.
Thank you. I just wanted to
celebrate
so many things. Yeah, I wanted to do a million things. And I was like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I got some great advice that you can't eat an elephant all at once. You need to eat it spoon by spoon. So I slowed down and I was like, okay, let me prioritize. Let me think about the execution of the ideas. And if you can execute an okay idea, it's sometimes better than trying to half-ass like the best idea ever.
Right.
So I just, don't eat an elephant all at once. Eat it spoon by spoon.
Love it.
And it's
No, I
my
think
little
that's
mantra
true.
that's stuck on that's scotch taped to my screen.
I think that's very true for all entrepreneurs, especially now that entrepreneurs can mean, entrepreneurship too, like you working in a business too. I think a lot of people are not like, focused on tomorrow, aka patience. I think that's something I've even honed in on too, is being patient and in working in the process on the day to day. You always want things to happen right now, and that's not going to do your health any good. It's not going to do your mindset any good too. So I think that's really relevant for today's like young entrepreneur trying to build a big business, or someone, maybe inside Truly Nolen that's trying to work up the ranks, or in any large corporation that's trying to work up the ranks. You have to be patient and have that inner peace and know that it's going to happen. And if you put that hard work in, it's going to happen. Might not be on the exact day that you want, but it's going to happen in the future, And I think there's also one other lesson that I've learned that kind of, commingles with this is you're gonna drive the business in a certain way, right? It's either gonna go right or left, but you got to be prepared for both mentally, right? You may want to go right, but the business may still go left, but you have to have that inner peace and resilience to accept that it may go left, and then also have the plan to make the business still successful if it goes left, So, that also, matches with, just making sure that you take it day by day and you just keep going with your business. And even though, maybe this deal that you're trying to close didn't work out, or maybe a new partnership didn't work out, you just keep going forward towards your North Star, and that's it. So I love that. That was an unexpected quote, but really awesome.
I don't share that with too many people. Every once in a while, people they'll be in my office and they'll see it because it's like
on your laptop.
Like it's like an oversized fortune cookie thing on my my computer, so and we're like, what does that say? What is it? It's like, can't eat an elephant all at once.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you so much being on the podcast. So this was awesome, by the way.
This was super fun. Yeah. Thank you so much. I've got
don't sweat it. You did great.
A page full of crazy notes and ideas. So this was really, really fun to do, and always gets my brain working.